What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. Team announcements are coming out for round 2 of the Six Nations. So, of course, we're back to doing some more selection reaction videos. Get a quick look at the teams, give some thoughts on some good picks, some bad picks. Maybe give you guys an early thought about what you're going to do for your fantasy teams this week. This one for Italy versus Wales. First game of the round. A much bigger game than it has been in, past years. Over the last 10 years, this game, you'd be like, oh, Wales are probably going to win this one. Last year, it was questionable. This year, I'm still flagging for a potentially a good Italy win here. But we'll jump in and take a look at the teams. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the old like button, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff. And let's jump straight into it with the home team, Italy. That's been announced for this one. Now, Italy last week played Scotland, lost that game 31-19. Wasn't quite the performance I was expecting from Italy. I thought it was going to be kept a little bit closer. Scotland, to me, felt like they had charge of that game. They were really sort of more in control, and they had moments of lapses, and Italy were able to exploit them, which is great to see from this Italy team. But they just couldn't really keep them, held down towards that. And 12 points by the end of it was exactly what I predicted for the end of the game. I just thought Italy could have looked to have just pushed that a little bit better. A couple of players still doing well for them. A couple of players not doing quite well. We'll get onto that when we get onto the team. There's a couple of players here that I think maybe some changes could have been made. So, starting out in the front row, Fischetti, Nicotera, and Ferrari coming in as the front row once again. And Fischetti last week carried well. He's one of those lads who does so well. Just a ball carrying for Italy. They love using the forwards to bring the ball up to the contact line, and Fischetti's a main guy to get in there. Lock department, one change going in this week. Nicolo Canoni coming in alongside of Federico Ruzza. Dino Lamb has been moved to the bench. Now, Dino Lamb, I like Dino Lamb. I think he's a very good player. Last week didn't have the impact I was expecting him to have. I kept track of the fantasy numbers as well. I think he was like one of the lowest scoring locks across the round as well. It was a bit of a shame. Not quite the game for him. Nicolo Canoni coming in, also another good, number 4 coming in. I think that's probably the right move based on performances last week. And just try and punish that line-out department a bit. Wales line-out is one you can challenge. It's one you can mess about with. I think last week it was 80-something% successful in the lineup for Wales. Teams want over 90. They want 100%, right? But, you want to be at least over 90. Wales were in the 80s, I think. So absolutely get more people involved in that lineup to try and disrupt and cause some problems. Back row, Sebastian Negri, Michele Lomaro, and Lorenzo Canone once again in that back row. Still carrying strong, not quite the... It's difficult because the Italy team in its own little transition, it's no longer just the back rows that just carry all the ball and do stuff. They've changed their game plan a bit. So when in my head, I'm thinking a little bit quieter than maybe I expected them to be, but the Italy game plan is shifting from what it used to be. So maybe, that's the shift that comes in. Maybe they'll be carrying a little bit less, but tackling hard last week. A lot of these lads getting well into the double figures for tackles as well. Halfback partnership, Pasarella going in once again alongside of Garbisi. I like Pasarella as a scrum half. I'm not sure what happened to Stephen Varney, if he's just not getting in this team. Alessandro Garbisi's back on the bench for this week as well. Pasarella, it's just about pace. I think France will have shown last week against Wales just playing at pace. Wales are still struggling to deal with it, getting it out wide quickly, expansive rugby, kicking across field, giving you fly half time. It's punishing Wales a lot, so Italy will want to take a lot away from that France-Wales game and look at how they might want to shift it for this game. Rather than just going through the forwards, going wider at speed could be, a real big bonus for them. Centre partnership, Menoncello going alongside of Brex once again. Brex getting over for his try last week, just sniping those balls and running along. He was my personal player of the Six Nations last year, even though Menoncello got it. He's a younger lad coming through, made a big impression. I thought Brex was better to me last year. And he's got off to another really good start this year. Menoncello put in some big shots as well, tackle-wise, but just Brex, I think he's on a really top-tier level for this Italy team and got over for a try last week. Great to see. And then the back three. Monte Ioane, Capozzo, and Tommaso Alan. Now, these are three boys that last week I really don't think got involved enough with the game. Monte Ioane, I was keeping a bit of an eye out for him, as well as the fantasy league we have on the channel. We've got one with a group of my mates. We've got one on the go. A couple of people picked Monte Ioane for their fantasy, so I was keeping an eye out on him. Really not getting involved with that game, and it's been something over the last year, I would say. He's either having these games where he'll score 2 tries and have a blinder, or he doesn't really do a lot on the wing. And I thought going up against Wales is a team he does score against, as we've all seen from like a few Six Nations ago as well. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to give someone else a shot. Unfortunately, JC is not in the team this week. I thought he'd be almost having a start. I thought you could get him on in that wing. He came on, didn't have a great deal of time to make a big impact going up against Scotland, but he got in, he was breaking through tackles, he was making a bit of a nuisance in the midfield, and I thought, oh, this is the sort of play that Wales will struggle to deal with. Not in the team, I don't know if there's an injury or something, but just not there at all. That wing is one that I think has been a little bit shaky. Andrew Cabot as well, not having as much impact as I was expecting. And Tomaso Alan, who I thought I played an absolute blinder with by picking him in my fantasy at fly half, knowing he was playing fullback. I thought counter-attacking meters made, really interesting kicks over the top, push himself into the attacking line, really get in the middle of it. He was one of the worst scoring players in the fantasy, and I was keeping a special eye out for him going, he's doing enough around the backfield, just sort of covering the game. He's like a safety net. It's an exit clearance kick. He's the guy kicking at posts. They want the higher percentage kicking for him. But just general play around the park. Again, not quite getting as involved as I wanted him to. And maybe if you just want him for the kicking aspect and for just distributing the ball in that backfield, I don't know. I'm not sure whether they've quite nailed down this back three to be as aggressive as you look at that line. I think Monty Ioane, Andrew Capuozzo, those boys should be flying down the wing, but really not making the impact for me. I might have looked at some differences there for that back three for them, but there we are. Lucchesi coming in alongside of Rizzoli and Riccioni coming in there as the replacement front row. They've got some attacking players there. The Wales scrum, astonishingly, held up against France in terms of your final stat. You can have some creaky scrums in game stuff, but when you look at the stats, Wales took a scrum away from France. They were able to hold out 100% of their own scrums. So scrum is an area that Wales might feel okay with. Italy did okay against Scotland as well. You'll be looking for these boys to make an impact when they do come on. Rest of the replacement forwards, Dino Lam, Zuliani and Ross Vincent, they've gone for that 6-2 again. I think that's a good way against Wales to just muscle your way over, but I still think playing expansively. The one thing Italy do have with the forwards is these replacement forwards coming on are also pacey. They're not just carrying the ball to the line. Dino Lam's a fast lock. Ross Vincent's a very fast back rower. Zuliani's got okay pace on him, but when players are getting tired and defensive, lines begin to break a bit more open room in that second half, being able to put pace behind your forwards as well is an area I can see them punishing Wales. I think that's the right move for them. And then replacement backs, Alessandro Garbisi and Trula coming in as the replacement backs. As I say, I kind of would have liked to see JC there. I don't know if he's had an injury. I haven't had a look at that. Overall, a solid team. It's, pretty similar to the team we got to see last week going up against Scotland, right? Maybe I would have liked to have seen some different wingers or a bit of a different switch in that back three. Maybe have tried Capuozzo at fullback and seen if that had made a difference. He was the boy who made that big run. If you remember Padovani's try against Wales when they beat Wales at home, it was Capuozzo made that run from fullback. Maybe you're looking at maybe some switches, but they've gone for the same, feeling confident, and maybe you should feel confident because Wales last week, oh boy, 43-0. Not what I was expecting, not going to lie. I had some confidence that they would at least get a score, something. I thought maybe a couple penalties in the game and maybe a try, probably off the back of a driving maul, is what I was expecting. I expected Wales to get about 10 to 12 points, something around that marker maybe. France 43, I don't think was an unlikely scoreline for them to have, but to nil Wales is a real stamp down, and I think the French coaches will be happy with that. Watching interviews with Warren Gallen and a couple of the players, and they were saying, we've got a lot of positives to take away from that game. I'm personally one of the sort of people now who's going to be like, I get a bit tired of just constantly hearing there's great positives to take away from things when you look at it and go, there wasn't a great deal of positives. Individual players are still there. Jack Morgan is so far ahead of this team. It feels unfair. I've been seeing people have already been talking about Lions. I don't really care about Lions tours until Six Nations is over because injuries come in and performances change and stuff, what have you. And people just say there's not a single Wales player getting in the Lions team. Jack Morgan's the only standout, right? He's so far above the rest of this team. He probably, at the minute, performance-wise, deserves to be in a different team because I think he's doing so well on his own. But so many players just really not having the performance for me. Ben Thomas stepped up last week as well, but some people were talking about, like, you know, what's his kicking like? Because, like, well, you don't get to see it because they don't score anything. We haven't been able to get to see, you know, Ben Thomas, how he's performing at the in the kicking duties, but running play was okay from Ben Thomas at playoff last week. We'll jump into take a look at the team then. So Gareth Thomas, Evan Lloyd, Henry Thomas coming in as this front row. Now the scrum did hold up. I can't believe it held up. In all honesty, I thought France would dominate that area. They did okay to be able to sort that one out. So they should feel relatively confident being able to just cope with the Italy scrum. But Italy will want to keep the ball in and try and earn penalties that way if they can. France weren't really looking for penalties last week in terms of posts. If they got one, they're going to the corner. I think Italy understand this is a good game for them to be able to stamp down. I can see Italy trying to draw penalties and kick the threes, tick the scoreboard over and put Wales under pressure. So scrum, I am expecting it to be held in for Italy and trying to generate penalties from there. Lock to bar and Will Rowlands going in alongside David Jenkins again. I think David Jenkins put in a good shift, to be fair. There was a lot of tackles from him. I can't remember what it was. I think it was like 26 tackles. I can't remember what it was now. But put a good shift in. Will Rowlands is, if you're doing the fantasy, Will Rowlands is one of the best scoring forwards in the official one. I couldn't quite believe it, but he apparently did a lot. I wasn't seeing an enormous amount from him myself. Back three, James Botham going in at 6, Jack Morgan as captain at 7, and Talupe Faletau returning at number 8. Now, I thought Aaron Wainwright went out. He is on the bench. He is still in. He had that cheek injury that took him out of the game very early on, which is a shame for Wales because I do think Aaron Wainwright's one of the best players in Wales at the minute. Faletau coming in, not a bad move at all, but you've got to be able to have possession to utilise someone like Talupe Faletau. He's a number 8 that will slide out onto the wing and has been known to score tries in the corner. He's a hard carry number 8, but there was a lot of kicking from Wales. They really couldn't utilise being able to finish off the points last week. So, you know, it's a decent switch to have Faletau, and James Botham's good at the breakdown as well. So just trying to shut down the speed of Italy, but also got to be a bit more clinical with the finishing for Wales. Halfback partnership, Thomas Williams going alongside Ben Thomas. I've already spoken about Ben Thomas. I think he actually had a good game attacking wise, and being able to put himself on the line and play a bit more up front as a number 10. Very hard to know what was going on, with kicking because he didn't have a single kick at post for him. But keeping it in at 10, probably a decent move to have a bit more of an attacking team. Get Dan Edwards on in the second half. I think it's the right move. Centre partnership switching up. Eddie James coming in the inside centre with Owen walking out now with his massive injury. He's out for the rest of the Six Nations as well. Nick Tompkins at 13. There was in fact, let's do the back three as well. So we've got Josh Adams, Tom Rogers and Liam Williams to finish out the backs. And there was something for me when I remember seeing this Wales team, the squad getting announced. And I remember thinking, I really feel like Wales have made a bit of a misstep with what was going well for them over the last year. There was very few things going well for Wales, but the driving maul was one. Defensively and attacking, they were able to do something from. But individual players based in attack and being able to do something. Players like Rio Dyer really stood out last year as just one of the main options for attack and doing stuff. It wasn't picked for the team. Max Llewellyn at club levels is scoring big points and didn't get in the team for this sort of centre area. Owen Watkin I've always thought of as more for your defensive elements, why you had Owen Watkin in. Nick Tompkins is slipping off of tackles. I'm thinking of him more as attacking, but over the last year that's dropped off for me, and I've really struggled to piece together what this Wales team wants to do. What are they aiming to do? Where are they aiming to take control of the ball? Eddie James coming in as a different, player of the ball. I would have liked to have seen someone like Maxwell to have still got into the team and have added something to this team as well. The back three, Tom Rogers doing okay in the game. Liam Williams is always going to be a solid fullback. Josh Adams might have had his worst game of his career that I've seen personally in the last week. Just out of position, left on his own to mark 3 people, crossfield kicks going over his head. He's running a blitz line on 3 players with no one behind him. Wasn't doing anything in attack, really just not having a good game. Give someone else a run. It was a talking point from Gatland when he was saying about you need to have... they've not got Anscombe in because they're looking ahead to the next World Cup, and Anscombe might not be in the next World Cup, so they're giving other lads a chance. You think, well, age-wise and caps-wise, you know, Josh Adams is getting up there now, Liam Williams is getting up there, Talupe Falatau's getting up there now in sort of ages. And like, you still got a good 3 years to the World Cup. I think get some other lads in maybe at like that wing. There's a couple of different options you could put on the wing. And I would think maybe give them a go, give them an opportunity, because Josh Adams really didn't impress me at all last week. Replacement forwards then Elliot D, Nicky Smith, Azarati. It's still not the strongest replacement front row for me that they could have. I think Italy will look to target that one in the second half. Freddie Thomas and Aaron Wainwright sealing out the forwards. Freddie Thomas with his yellow card last week, and Aaron Wainwright with his injury. I'm preferring the Italy bench. I'm not going to lie where they're currently at. It'd be nice to see a bit more from Freddie Thomas, because I felt a little bit bad for him that he came on and just instantly got a yellow card for his first sort of action of the game. Ended up being a penalty, really. And then replacement backs: Roger Williams, Dan Edwards, and Blair Murray. Again, like to see Blair Murray come on and have some more game time. Dan Edwards as well. Give them a shot. You know, Italy's probably the team out of the rest of the Six Nations that, you know, Wales are closest to having a shot against in this Six Nations. But, you know, you've got to get these lads on. Otherwise, there's no point throwing these lads on against Ireland, you know, at sort of 80 minutes. You know, get them on kind of early against a team like Italy and let them sort of put their own marker down in the international rugby. Give them a good amount of time. Predictions then for this game. How do we see this one going? Well, it's Italy for me. I would be very, very surprised if Wales are able to turn that round in a week. Do I think it will be another 0 game? No. If Italy beat Wales by 0, that is where the red flags, if they're not already out for Wales, that is where, you know, issues should be. There should be at least penalties, you know, and taking the game very seriously. Taking those 3 points, you know, being able to generate tries, some phase play that connects to each other, rather than playing outrageous loop passes. Be a bit more clinical, organise your phase play and be able to go over scores. I think Italy should be looking for a big second half. I can see them feeling out the game in the first half. Let your Tommaso Alan do some penalty kicks. I'm sure penalties are coming in this game nonetheless from that Wales team. So take the threes when they're on offer. Take the scoreboard away. Second half, there's a big bench coming on from Italy there, especially with some pacey forwards. And just start applying the pressure. You've got to play at pace. You've got to not, you know, take the pressure off as well and let Wales get back into the game. I can still see a good game for Italy here. I'm going to go for an Italy win. And I think I'm going to go double figures, actually. I think I'm going to say Italy to win this one. I might go 12. I think is what I'm going to go for my prediction. But of course, drop down in the comment section your thoughts on the teams, as well as your own score predictions. Make sure you're getting all your stuff locked in on the Subaru and the Fantasy as well. It's another big game as well for this one, because I did read just earlier on that if Wales lose this game and Georgia beat the Netherlands, I don't know a lot about the Netherlands team, but I'm going to put Georgia down to beat them. Wales will drop below Georgia in the world rankings, and they will just, they're going down. So it's a game Wales need to win, even if I don't personally really see it. But there we go, guys. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to keep up to date with all the rest of the team announcements coming out over the course of the next 2 days. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.